my eyes, whatever you see here on this land, always think beyond why this thing is here. And just don't judge based on what you see.
Samen met Alexander Blom, programmamaker, en Alina Griachenko reis ik door Israël. In het onderzoeksprogramma Israël in Focus bezoeken we plaatsen die bijna dagelijks in het nieuws komen. Zogeheten nieuwsfeiten waar iedereen wel een mening over heeft. Ga met ons mee op zoek naar het menselijke verhaal achter de krantenkoppen. In het nieuws horen we regelmatig over Palestijnse vluchtelingenkampen en hoe die ontelbaar veel Palestijnen die daar wonen in erbarmelijke omstandigheden moeten leven en dat dat de schuld zou zijn van Israël. Dan gaan we vandaag een ontmoeting hebben met zo'n jongen die ook echt in een vluchtelingenkamp woont. We gaan nu trouwens de checkpoint door, dus vandaar even de bobbeltjes. Maar hij gaat in ieder geval vertellen wat hij daar heeft meegemaakt en gisteren kregen we een appje van hem gisterenmiddag. Hij vertelde dat hij al 3 dagen vast zat in een Palestijnse politiecel. Hij kon op dat moment niet vertellen wat er aan de hand was. Ik weet ook niet of hij het op camera kan vertellen, qua veiligheid. Maar hij is in ieder geval gisteren vrijgekomen, wat echt een opluchting is. En we gaan hem zo meteen ontmoeten en hij gaat ons dus vertellen over het leven in het vluchtelingenkamp. De Palestijnse vluchtelingenkampen op de westelijke Jordaan-oever zijn vaak in het nieuws. De leefomstandigheden zijn er zwaar, er is vaak geen elektriciteit. Ze puilen uit van mensen die geen kant op kunnen. Een openluchtgevangenis, zo worden de kampen vaak genoemd. Maar hoe komt dat? Volgens de Palestijnse leiders is Israël de schuldige. Israël wijt het aan het Palestijnse leiderschap. We spreken af met een Palestijnse jongen met wie ik al 5 jaar contact heb over dit onderwerp. We ontmoeten elkaar op een neutrale plek, vlakbij een van de vluchtelingenkampen. Hij wil graag openhartig met ons praten, daarom gebruikt hij de schuilnaam Ali en hebben we afgesproken om zijn gezicht onherkenbaar in beeld te brengen en zijn stem te vervormen. Dit zegt iets over de risico's die Ali denkt te lopen als hij vrijuit spreekt. Dat zijn angst niet ongegrond is, blijkt wel uit de vele arrestaties van andersdenkenden in de afgelopen jaren. Een bekend voorbeeld is Nizar Banat, een dissident die in 2021 door de Palestijnse veiligheidsdiensten werd gearresteerd en mishandeld vanwege zijn kritiek op de corruptie van de Palestijnse Autoriteit. En die stierf aan zijn verwondingen. Er zijn nog veel andere voorbeelden van dissidenten, journalisten en mensenrechtenactivisten die gearresteerd en gemarteld worden door de Palestijnse Autoriteit. Good morning. Good to see you.
How are you? Hello guys. Hi. Nice to meet you. Hello. Nice to meet you.
This is Alex, Alina. I'm Sarah.
Wow, it's Ali, Alex, Alina, huh?
That's exactly what we said. Is it okay if we directly wire you?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. So how are you doing?
I'm fine. Was just struggling for a few days with a fine.
With a fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I was in a place in Ramallah. You know where the white-blue pavement?
Yeah.
I stopped my car in a place like that. Yeah.
So you were having a parking fine in Ramallah?
Yeah.
What happened there? What went wrong?
I stopped my car somewhere
Yeah.
where you have the white and blue pavement. And I wanted to pay, but there was no way to pay. I was rushing.
Yeah.
I left the car and I come back after like 2-3 hours. I found it, you know that lock where they lock the wheel?
We lock, yeah.
Nobody's finding new even there. They put a lock on the wheel and then I'm asking the guy, why did you lock my wheel?
Oh.
He said, because you didn't pay, but I'm okay, where should I pay? I don't know, but you have to find a way to pay.
And then?
Then he said, you pay 150 shekels so I can unlock your wheel. I'm not paying you 150 shekels, why should I pay you 150 shekels? Then he takes me to the police station. Okay, let's go to the police station. I don't mind. And there the police, the traffic police, also asking me, you have to pay 150 shekels, otherwise we're not leaving you.
You mean like bribe, a little bribe or something?
Some sort of indirect bribe.
Yeah. Ali was bereid om de parkeerboete te betalen, maar alleen via de officiële instantie. Niet onder de tafel, contant aan de lokale agent. Zijn principes braken hem op.
Then after some few arguments, he puts me in the jail.
Really?
Yeah, he said you're rude, you're disrespectful, and he wrote on the report that I have attacked the policeman. I didn't do this, but this is a way for so many policemen to humiliate you, basically. Then the next day I'm going to the judge. And then the judge is saying, no, it's 150 shekels. And you have attacked the soldier like a policeman. I told him, but I didn't. He said, no, but it's written here that you did. Okay, send him back to the jail. Another night.
Oh, no. So how many nights you spent there?
Like almost 2 nights and a half. Until my brother paid.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And the 150 became 300.
Well, I'm happy.
So many ways.
I'm happy you're here.
Yeah, but look how because basically there is no law.
No.
If there was any specific law, I would ask the judge, you are judging me to pay 150 shekels, you're sending me back to jail based on which law?
Yeah. Crazy. Let me put the mic.
Yeah, the law is just absent in this area.
Okay, so where should we go? This way, straight?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We can make some, we can drive.
Yeah. Because you're bringing us to the refugee camp now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Ali woont in een van de 58 officiële Palestijnse vluchtelingenkampen. Ruwweg de helft van deze kampen vallen onder de Palestijnse Autoriteit. Met andere woorden, ze bevinden zich in Gaza of in Judea en Samaria. De overige kampen zijn in Libanon, Jordanië en Syrië. De vluchtelingenkampen ontstonden na de onafhankelijkheidsoorlog van 1948. 750.000 Palestijnen werden er eerst opgevangen in tentenkampen. 3/4 eeuw later zijn die vluchtelingenkampen er nog steeds. Inmiddels zijn er in totaal meer dan 5 miljoen Palestijnse vluchtelingen geregistreerd. De nazaten van die vluchtelingen uit 1948. De VN-organisatie UNRWA zorgt in de kampen voor onder meer onderwijs en gezondheidszorg. You grew up in a refugee camp, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the life in the refugee camp, how it is?
It looks like living in a sardine can, where everything is just tight. Yeah. Life is tight. We can go from the left from here. And the tightness is the main characteristic of life there. The place, the school, the streets, the house.
You live there with your family?
Yeah. You basically grow up in the victimhood mentality. That's.
What do you mean by that? That Palestinians feel victimized by Israel?
They are feeling victimized not only by Israel but also by the whole world.
Yeah.
Okay, we're the victims. The Europeans are victimizing us. The Americans, even the Arabs and the Muslims.
Yeah.
So basically, they owe us.
Yeah.
They owe us a lot. And you grow up with this very big question: why my life is different than the one who lives in Bethlehem, for instance, or why my life is different than the one who lives in Ramallah or in Nablus. I mean, the average Palestinian cities, where life is a bit easier, let's say.
You mean outside the refugee
camp?
camp?
Outside the refugee camp.
Ja. Voor een Palestijn maakt het dus uit of je in een zogeheten kamp woont of daarbuiten, zoals in steden als Nablus of Bethlehem, waar over het algemeen de leefomstandigheden beter zijn.
Ja.
So what do we see here?
What we see here is one of the Palestinian refugee camps in a Palestinian city.
Yeah.
In West Bank.
Yeah. But maybe you can explain me one thing, because if I think about a refugee camp, I think about tents and about UN people. But this is not tents.
Absolutely.
Why not?
This is what you see is a development of a tent. Around 72, 73 years ago, so many Palestinians, they need to flee, as it's called, the independence war on the Israeli side, or the Nakba on the Palestinian side, the catastrophe that happened in 1948. Many Palestinians need to flee. Some of them because they witnessed massacres, some of them because they heard about massacres, some of them also because they were told by the Arab armies that you have to leave until the Arab armies wipe Israel from the map, and then they could come back to their land.
And so the refugees that came here?
Exactly. So many refugees who were originally living like almost 40 or 50 kilometers away from here, they had fled and gathered in this particular spot. I remember, based on the statistics about the camp, the Palestinians who fled here, they were 400. Right now, 2022, the number is almost 17,000.
So why is it still there after 73 years?
Yeah, this is a very important question. In fact, the Palestinian refugee issue is a bit complicated. The UNRWA, the United Nations for Relief and Working Agency that runs the place and takes care of the place and in charge of the Palestinian issue, they have provided something really weird, which has to do with the fact that the first generation of the Palestinian refugees are actually passing this identity to the second, to the third, and even to the fourth generation. So basically we're talking about an inherited identity.
Yeah.
And this is something weird, because if we went back to some refugee issue, just like what happened between India and Pakistan, just like the refugee issue that was between Turkey and Greece, which these refugee issues that took place almost in the same time, in the 40s.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the refugees were settled, they were granted the citizenship, and then they continued their life normally. So the second generation, third generation, they've got the citizenship of the place and they never claim or say that we're refugees.
It was not the case with you?
Yeah, here is the exact opposite. That the second generation and the third generation, they're still saying, I'm a refugee. And they didn't choose this, by the way. You are born, you're getting a card from the UNRWA says that you are a Palestinian refugee.
Ja. Dus de vluchtelingenstatus van de Palestijnen wordt kunstmatig in stand gehouden en overgedragen op kinderen, kleinkinderen en zelfs achterkleinkinderen van vluchtelingen. Dat is bij andere vluchtelingenkwesties wereldwijd anders.
If you look at this place, I want you to imagine or to see two barriers. The first one is the emotional barrier that surrounds this place. And this emotional barrier is surrounded or it's shaped by the right of return. The first generation and almost the vast majority of the second generation, they were saying the camp symbolizes the right of return.
And the right of return is that Palestinians have the right to return, for example, to Tel Aviv or to Jaffa.
Exactly. The right of return is simply that the Palestinians, and including the first and the second and third generation, which are about 5 million Palestinians right now, the right of return says that this is the right to return to the area that's inside the green line, which is basically Israel, not to West Bank and to Gaza.
Dat recht op terugkeer is een belangrijk element in de onderhandelingen tussen Israël en de Palestijnen. Vluchtelingen eisen het recht om terug te keren naar hun huizen waar ze voor 1948 woonden. Maar ook al hun nakomelingen eisen datzelfde recht. Dat maakt de kampen zo belangrijk om deze eis in stand te houden. De kampen zijn het symbool geworden van het recht op terugkeer. Met als gevolg dat het sociaal niet geaccepteerd is om zo'n kamp te verlaten.
Unfortunately, the Palestinian Authority, ever since it was established in the very beginning of the 90s, they have been exploiting the Palestinian suffering for their advantages. Exploiting also that European feeling of guilt, that we feel really guilty toward the Palestinians, toward the Israelis. We were one of the reasons why this conflict has been going on, for whatever the reasons are. Unfortunately, the European guilt is contributing in the misery of the people who are living there.
Ik realiseer me hoe complex de situatie hier is. Er is niet alleen een conflict tussen twee partijen, namelijk Israël en de Palestijnen, maar ook Europa en de VN hebben een aandeel in de instandhouding van het vluchtelingenprobleem, vindt Ali. Want zolang er vluchtelingen zijn, blijft er geld nodig om te voorzien in hun levensonderhoud, onderwijs en huisvesting. Structurele oplossingen om mensen permanent te huisvesten buiten de kampen liggen politiek enorm gevoelig. Zo worden de inwoners van de kampen pionnen in een groot politiek spel. Alleen naar Israël wijzen als de schuldige is dan veel te makkelijk. Ali neemt ons mee naar een nabijgelegen vluchtelingenkamp. Sommige van deze kampen zijn berucht vanwege de brandhaarden van extremisme, de oplaaiing van geweld en het feit dat buitenstaanders, laat staan buitenlandse cameraploegen, er met veel wantrouwen bekeken worden. So if we would go to the camp on our own without you, would it be dangerous for us?
Unfortunately, the conspiracy theory is always deep here in the Arab culture and the Palestinian culture, and mainly in the Palestinian refugee camps.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, people would look at foreigners with some eyes of suspicion.
Yeah.
Especially when people are holding cameras. So many people would think, oh, you're reporting to the Israeli intelligence, etc., etc. So probably with the camera, yeah, it would be a bit risky. People would stop you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's your organization? What are you doing? It might happen. It may not, by the way.
You asked us that your face is blurred for this video. You asked us to use a fake name. You asked us also to blur your voice.
Right.
What would happen to you if people know here that you are telling me these things?
At the time we're talking now, there are about 600 Palestinians, including lawyers, human rights activists, journalists, university students. Let's go all the way up, but be careful. University students, lawyers, human rights activists, journalists even, who are being jailed inside Palestinian jails, tortured by Palestinian security forces for no crime but because they dare criticizing the Palestinian Authority and their corruption, their financial corruption, their management, their mismanagement, the fact that they're taking the Palestinians to the nowhere.
Yeah, so you would end up in jail and be tortured.
Exactly.
So why do you do it? Why do you talk to me?
This is one of my missions for the sake of change. Because in order for us to change here, unfortunately, as I told you, I live under a dictatorship. I don't enjoy any means to change. There is no election here. Never participated in any elections. So basically, the means in the democratic life to change is totally absent from here. So in my eyes, there is another way to change, which is to come from top. Mm-hmm. And this would come from Europe and the United States as the main funders of the Palestinian Authority. The notion of the conditional fund should be deepened inside the European and the Western mentality in general. This conditional fund means if the Palestinian Authority doesn't change its policies, if it continues with disrespecting and abusing the Palestinian human rights, there shouldn't be any funds coming from Europe. Because in my eyes, I really don't think there will be any European or any American who would be okay with supporting a regime that has been abusing the Palestinian life, the Palestinians and their life and their human rights for decades.
Mm-hmm. So that's why you talk?
Yeah, exactly. And so many times the biased media who think that if you criticize the Palestinian Authority, you are serving the Israeli agenda, which is something totally different. It's something totally wrong.
Inmiddels rijden we door het vluchtelingenkamp. Best een gekke benaming. De straten zijn nauw, maar het is niet het idee wat je hebt bij een vluchtelingenkamp. Het is uitgegroeid tot een kleine enclave waar bovenop elkaar wordt gebouwd en veel mensen bovenop elkaar wonen. De reden dat het nog een kamp heet, is omdat de status van tijdelijkheid politiek zo belangrijk is.
Let's go right. This is basically the main street that, let's say, the main street in the camp.
Yeah, there's a lot of graffiti everywhere. Huh?
Yeah, graffiti is also there, one of the characteristics of the camp. It reminds people of so many events, it reminds of so many people.
What does it say, for example, there?
Like, for instance, here it talks about the PFLP. Mostly what you see in red is written by the PFLP.
PFLP?
Yeah, the Palestinian Front to Liberate Palestine, which is a hardcore left-wing party that used to be violent during the second uprising, and they're still carrying the thought that Palestine should be liberated from the river to the sea.
Right.
So basically, I would like us to stop here. Let's go straight. And we can maybe park here. I just want to check with those people if we can just go here.
So where are we going now?
Yeah, it's actually another view to the camp. Yep. Need my help?
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So this is another view of the camp. It's closer. You can see more details.
Yeah.
You can see the same thing that we're talking about: overcrowdedness, lack of space, the way that the buildings are built on top of each other.
Yeah. How does that make you feel to see this here?
Yeah, you feel like you are different. Like this was the main street where we were just passing by. You can see that how this street splits the Palestinian life here.
Yeah.
A refugee here, a non-refugee here. Some sort of less space here, more space there. And yeah, you can, like, it's just like a huge contrast in front of your eyes.
So when was the moment that you realized that things were different? Because you grew up as a nice Palestinian boy in a school here with all the ideas of the UNRWA and the Palestinian Authority, the victimhood. When did it change?
I remember it was almost 8 years ago when I was working at a restaurant, at a hotel. And I remember a moment when there was a group of Americans who had visited the restaurant. They had lunch there. And there was a guy who was curious to know, to hear something from a Palestinian, because unfortunately many groups, when they come here, the schedule is packed from this church to this church, from this church to this church. The religious life is very important on the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Also the political life, since you're coming here, it's also very important for you to understand the politics of this place. And then while they were having the lunch, it happened that the restaurant was empty and there was nobody in the restaurant except them. So the guy had called me, "Oh, you're Palestinian, what's your name? How are you? Okay. Can I ask you a question? What do you think about Israel?" I mean, is this a question? Like, there is only one answer. Israel is the state for the people who came from Europe, who the European had kicked. And in order to get rid of them, they had thrown them on us. And they had occupied my grandfather's land. The same rhetoric and the same education that we have. And then he told me, "What do you think about your authority, the Palestinian Authority?" I thought, wow, those are my, basically they're led by my hero, and they represent my national movement, my national aspirations. The same also rhetoric. But then it happened that we have added each other on Facebook. We had a long conversation, and I really saw it as an opportunity for me to speak to an English speaker. This is the only way that you improve your language. And during this conversation, he had somehow broken the bubble that was surrounded me, because for you, when you're living in this place, surrounded by so many bubbles here, it's so difficult for you to see the reality as is. So this conversation with this person who was somehow more interested in the politics of this place had showed me, or let's say the conversation had guided me to see part of my reality and the truth of my reality here, which is the corruption of the Palestinian Authority.
He explained it to you.
During our conversation, yeah, why this, and always this question, why, is the most important question for the change. Why? The more you probe deep, the more you try to answer this question, the more you change. Because you see the contrast again. Here, a why is prohibited, and here I'm started to be with why. So this was the moment when I started seeing the reality from a perspective and started thinking outside the box, and started to be a bit more objective in my life.
A big shock also.
Yeah, it is a shock.
When you discovered all these things, did you talk about it with your family, with your friends and so?
In the very beginning I had these fights.
Yeah.
These very rough conversations with my family. Don't put yourself at risk, and don't put us at risk also. Because the risk here goes beyond the person. It goes to his family, it goes to his friends, to his relatives. So in the very beginning, yeah, it was a challenge. It was a difficult phase in my life.
Mm-hmm. What about now?
For now, I'm more careful.
Yeah.
My family, they get to a point that they really accept my thoughts. They really accept another person who thinks outside the box. And they understand that also I'm being careful. Talk with a fake identity. I wouldn't reveal my real identity, for instance. Here with the friends, with people, with the normal people, with the local people here, I barely talk unless a person who really I trust, a person I know. I barely talk or criticize.
So your family knows now that you're here talking to me?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
They agree?
They agree. They agree with my notion, which is that those people who fund the Palestinian Authority, they have to understand the reality. They have to understand that they're supporting a dictatorship.
Yeah.
They're sending money to humiliate the Palestinians, thinking that they're sending the money out of goodwill to make the life better here.
Door de jaren heen heeft Ali veel onderzocht. Hij vertelt hoe hij steeds meer tot de conclusie komt dat de Palestijnse Autoriteit een corrupte dictatuur is. We verlaten het vluchtelingenkamp. We hebben het over UNRWA, de VN-vluchtelingenorganisatie voor de Palestijnen. Ook daarover is Ali verre van positief.
Yeah, unfortunately, those people are not really honest. I don't think they're really interested of showing people the truth and responding to their question. And the main question that each and every person is asking: why are you still there? Why there is no UNRWA for the Syrians? Millions of refugees, and there is no UNRWA for them. Why there is no UNRWA for instance, for the Iraqis? If we're just talking about this region. Why at this very moment there is no UNRWA for the Ukrainian? Millions of refugees. So I think they're always trying to escape this question. So basically they don't face people.
You give me the answer. Why is the UNRWA there?
Yeah, it's a good business to stay here. The annual budget of the UNRWA is almost $1 billion per year. And I'm thinking about it, over the period of 70 years, almost 7 decades, of sponsoring the Palestinian refugee camps, the accumulation would be more or less $70 billion. And with this amount of money, we could do tons of things to end the life of the refugees, to integrate the Palestinian refugee camps into the Palestinian cities, and just so they could continue their life as people, as Palestinians.
De wereldwijde gemeenschap heeft er zoveel geld in gestoken om het lot van Palestijnen te verbeteren. Maar nog steeds is het probleem er. Sterker nog, het wordt alleen maar groter. Het statement van Ali is dat de Palestijnse Autoriteit het geld niet goed besteedt en dat het soms verdwijnt in eigen zakken. Uiteindelijk is de gemiddelde Palestijnse vluchteling daarvan de dupe. Ali neemt ons mee naar de beruchte muur. Ook zo'n veelbesproken onderwerp in de media.
Right next to any of these cars because we'll move in a bit. So you can just.
Just like this?
Yeah, just right next to any car here. We will be moving in a bit.
So what is this place, Ali?
Yeah. So this is here where where we have part of the wall that is being so much discussed and so many names are being given to this wall. The discrimination wall, the apartheid, the separation, etc., etc. But whatever the reason is, whatever they call it, or whatever some people describe it, is still an ugly wall. And the story behind it also is a bit complicated.
Yeah.
In my eyes, whatever you see here on this land, always think beyond why this thing is here, and just don't judge based on what you see. Basically, in the year of 2000, as a result of the collapse of Oslo Accord, there was an escalation of violence and tension between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And it was one of the most violent waves on this land. On the Israeli side, this place that you are here, it was almost like a war zone. You can see tanks, helicopters, soldiers, blood, murdering, etc. Inside Israel, there was the shooting, suicide bombing, all these terrible things.
It was the Intifada?
Yeah, as it called the second Intifada or the second uprising in 2000. And at that moment, there was a rise of the radical Palestinian military movement. They had some sort of invented a new way and added a new technique in fighting Israel, which was the suicide bombers. In fact, this technique was used like in the beginning of the 90s, but it really escalated by Hamas and by the Islamic Jihad, and also by Fatah and some other Palestinian groups during the second uprising, second Intifada. And you would just hear about Palestinian men and women blowing themselves up in Israel, killing many innocent kids, women, civilians. And this was, I think, in my eyes, it was a big trauma inside the Israeli society. And at that moment, the Israeli strategy was how to prevent this. Because before 2000, there was no wall, there was almost no barriers between Bethlehem and Jerusalem. You could barely see any barrier. So it was easy for so many people to just infiltrate and just blow themselves up there and kill.
So they decided to build a wall?
Exactly. As a desperate measure, the Israeli intelligence and the security, let's say, strategy was based on creating a barrier.
Sinds de bouw van de muur is het aantal aanslagen op Israël drastisch verminderd. De zelfmoordaanslagen werden teruggebracht tot 0. Maar de impact op de Arabische bevolking is groot. Er zijn checkpoints en de strenge controles geven het gevoel van in een gevangenis te leven. Een moeilijke en hartverscheurende balans tussen veiligheid voor Israël en een leefbare situatie voor de Palestijnen.
I met the person who had, or I was in a meeting with a person who had really the architect, the Israeli architect who had designed this wall. It was something interesting to hear because I've never understood why they have these huge, or these have big gaps or big holes on top. I was asking why. And then he explained, as he said, it really saddens me to see this huge wall separates between me and my neighbors. But at the same time, this wall is a desperate measures for me and for my people to protect ourselves. But I believe that one day, this wall is going to be taken off. So he left that, on each and every piece of cement, he left a hole. And he called it the hole of hope. That he's really hoped to take this and use it in something productive.
Do you have hope for the future?
Absolutely I do.
Yeah?
I mean, living without hope is just, you're dead.
Yeah.
It's difficult to maintain hope and to keep this hope because so many times you feel the frustration is taking over. But at the same time, when you see some positive change in the reality here, even on the very, very small and the very micro level, but it's still positive change.
Yeah.
So this really gives me hope. When I see, here I see more people are working together on the Palestinian and the Israeli side, more people are saying positive things about each other as individuals. I see this social interaction is becoming more and more between Palestinians and Israelis on the grassroots. This really gives me hope that at some point this will be channeled to another level, and who knows, maybe this will be channeled to the political level, and it will end up with a solution that will really respect the dignity for both people, respect the connection and the, let's say, the attachment to the land.
So maybe you should go into politics.
If there is a way. How can you go to politics when you don't have democracy?
True. We laten Ali achter met een dubbel gevoel. Een jongen die gevangen zit in een systeem van corruptie en uitzichtloosheid. Hij is iemand die zich daartegen wil uitspreken, maar daar nauwelijks de gelegenheid voor heeft. Maar tegelijk ziet hij hoop, licht aan het einde van de tunnel. Als mensen elkaar in de ogen gaan kijken, is er dan toch een kans op vrede?